What is up, people? What is up, people? This is Abraham Walker with Ask A Walker, your Northern Virginia real estate agent. And today we're ready for our show, our live stream, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day. Today we're going through the 100 questions every first-time home buyer should ask. Today we're covering question number 21. Do you need an agent, right? The gist of this question is, do you need an agent to buy a home? We're going to get into that, have some thoughts about this, something that I think will help you through this question, through this whole thought process. And I think it'll make more sense to you, right? But before we begin our presentation, I just want to let you all know there is a link in the description or in my bio to the Perfect Home Questionnaire. That's where you start your real estate journey. You click on that link, fill out that form, and we'll schedule a time to meet online via Zoom to answer any and all of your real estate questions. You'll be laughing and giggling like this young couple here who purchased a property in Alexandria, Fairfax County. We go live every day at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have any questions, post them down below. The way this whole process works, I have some content I'm going to prepare for you. After I finish with my little presentation, then I'll answer any questions that you may have. So get those questions loaded right now down below, and then we'll start with your question at the end of this little presentation here. All right, so let's get into it. 100 questions every first-time home buyer should ask. Question number one, should you buy a home without an agent? Can you buy a home without an agent? First off, the answer is yes. There's no law that says that you have to buy a home with an agent. There's nothing that says that. So that means that buying a home with an agent is an option. I guess the question you probably want to ask yourself is, why would you buy a home without an agent? What is the benefit to buying a home without an agent? I actually came up with a few, I think, some ideas to kind of help you understand why you would buy a home without an agent. First off, we have 5 benefits to purchasing without a real estate agent. The first benefit is going to be that the transaction or the process moves quicker. A real estate agent is another person to schedule, another person to worry about their opinions, another person to coordinate versus you going out and looking at a property by yourself, right? Like when you have this instinct to go out, go do it, you don't get that same vibe, right? You don't get that same feedback when you don't have a real estate agent. Now, the cons of that is that, well, if you don't use an agent, then you kind of have to go see properties only when open houses are going on. You're not able to see properties during private showings. So you're not going to be seeing properties at all during the weekdays. You're only going to be seeing properties during the weekends, which for some people, that just works out. A lot of our clients are only seeing properties in the afternoons, right after they get off of work, or on the weekends anyway. So not that big of a deal, right? But if you don't use an agent, right, you do get to move quickly, but you also lose someone working while you're at work. Real estate is a full-time profession for myself. My wife also works with me in the administration capacity. So there's 2 people working for our clients. If it's you working for yourself, then while you're at work, you're at work. That means that you're not staying up to date on what listings are coming up on the market. You're not staying up to date on what properties have sold. You're not staying up to date on the market in general. This is all stuff that you lose when you're not using a real estate agent. Another thing you lose when you're not using a real estate agent is, while you do have this speed, you do also have this level of a lack of understanding, which means that you're not going to be asking the right questions because you don't really know what to ask. This lack of knowledge does make the process quicker because you don't know what to do, right? And that's fine. That's fine. That works for some people. Another thing that allows you to move quickly through a property because you don't have an agent is you don't have somebody to tell you, hey, don't focus on the staging, don't focus on what the property looks like. Just focus on the bones, focus on the layout, focus on the important things. You lose that when you don't use a real estate agent, but it does allow you to go quicker. Last up in this segment is you lose that middle person, right? So whenever you remove the mediator, that middle person, there is some speed that goes along with that process, and there is work that is now transferred from either yourself to the other party, which in this scenario would be the listing agent. If that's something that's okay with you, then fine. Just know that if the listing agent started out working with the seller and now they're working with both you and the seller, then that means that there really is no representation. In a transaction, that's one of the most expensive transactions in your life, one of the most important transactions in your life. It kind of makes sense to have representation, especially since the representation, as far as the compensation is concerned, has already been discussed or been has already been addressed on the listing side. This isn't to say, I don't like that language that some agents use where they say the commission is, there's no charge for it, there's no fee for it. That's not necessarily the case, since in your transaction, the buyer is the only person bringing money to the table. So you are kind of paying for the commission, right? You're paying for the commission because the properties are inflated by the commission that everyone charges, right? Over 90% of all transactions occur through a real estate agent. So that means that there's always this commission on top of every transaction. So there is some fee to you using to purchase a property. So why not get the best bang for your buck? So let's talk about the second reason why it benefits you to purchase a home without an agent. There's no resistance, there's no friction, right? Agents bring friction to the transaction. Anytime you add more people to a process, that brings friction. And you may be thinking to yourself, you know what, I want a smooth process, a smooth transaction. Well, while that is the case, no one to point out the flaws to you does mean that you're going to just go forward with the process or go forward with the property that may not be in your best interest, right? No one that provides you with feedback about the fact that during our buyer's consultation, you said you wanted a 2-bedroom property, but then you're fixated on a 1-bedroom property. So then this property really doesn't fit your criteria. There's no one in the transaction to give you that feedback, but there is no resistance, which is maybe something you want. There's also less resistance in the sense that you don't know any information that the listing agent wants to convey to a buyer's agent to help facilitate the transaction. So, case in point, one of the things that agents do on a regular basis, myself included, is when our buyer client is interested in a property, we make sure that we reach out to the listing agent to find out what's the motivation of the seller, if they'll disclose this. Some agents won't disclose this, but some will. We also try to find out the timeline of the seller's move. We want to find out if there is a potential rent back for that the seller needs, and if the seller has any type of aversion to any financing that our client would offer. Some sellers don't like VA loans. Some sellers don't like FHA loans. Some sellers don't like closing cost assistance, right? So you want to find that information out before you make your offer, and that's information you lose, which goes to your goes to having less resistance in your transaction if that's the thing you're looking for. So the third item on our list is that you get less feedback. The agent that you're using is probably going to provide you with feedback about the community, provide you with feedback about the property. When I go into a property and I'm showing a home to a client, a buyer client, I'm usually looking for flaws, things that my client is not looking at, to make sure that they understand if they're going to have, if my client says that they want to move into a property with no carpet, but then there's carpet on the floors, then we need to talk about, okay, great. We're probably looking at like seven to $15,000 of flooring. Or if my client says they want to move into a property with a move-in ready a kitchen, either a kitchen that's already has a certain number of features, then if we go into a kitchen that doesn't, we want to point those things out to the client, because oftentimes when you see properties, you're kind of emotional, right? Because it's a big decision. You're trying to decide if you want to move forward with the property, if you don't want to move forward with the property. So then that causes you not to look at the property the same way. That's what an agent will do, but that's less feedback. Some people don't like feedback. The fourth thing that an agent provides you is a buffer. So a buffer between yourself and the listing agent, a buffer between yourself and the seller. You may be thinking to yourself, I don't want a buffer, right? I want to just, I can make the deal happen if I just talk to the listing agent, or if I just talk to the seller. That may be the case. That may be the case. I'm not doubting your negotiating skills. And while this is an emotional transaction on your side, it's also emotional transaction on the seller side as well. So if you have two emotional people getting together to do one of the largest transactions that either party may do in their life, then you're bound to miscommunicate your perspective or your objective. And a real estate agent provides you with that buffer, right? To have somebody to filter what you meant to say with what you actually said, right? Things could get heated, things could get emotional, and you don't want to lessons during the negotiating process. We had a friend of ours who was a client who purchased a property directly from a seller, directly from a homeowner who did not have a listing agent. And so our friend hired us to represent them on the buy side. And our friend said that because they know the owner, they weren't going to ask for any repairs to be done, or they weren't going to ask for any items on the inspection list to be performed, because they know that person. And we just let our client know, hey, look, you may know them personally, but this is a transaction. If the seller doesn't do this work, then you're agreeing to do this work. And if you're agreeing to do this work, then you should know how much this is going to cost. And once we provided our client with some quotes, or at least some ranges for the items that they were thinking about, they say, you know what, Abraham, let's just see what the seller says. And sure enough, the seller did the work, right? The seller didn't think less of them. They're still friends to this day, but this is a business transaction, maybe between friends, but it's still a business transaction. That seller probably had expectations around what they wanted to do, what they were going to do. And our client, because they were in their emotions, right, about their relationship with this individual, they thought that they were going to offend them. Whereas your real estate agent, we're not concerned about being offensive. We're concerned about getting you what you want. But if you don't want any buffer, that's just something that, comes with the territory, right? That's a benefit to purchasing a property without an agent. The next thing is, there's this all or nothing mentality that some people have when they are left to their own devices, right? Where they're like, you know what? If I don't get this property, I'm never buying a home ever again in life. Like, this is it, Abraham. Like, if I don't get this property, this is it. A real estate agent won't allow you to do that. They just won't allow you to do that. They'll let you know, you know what? Yes, you thought that this was going to be your dream home, but let's go to sleep tonight and have another dream. And I'm pretty sure there's another dream home in your life, right? Yes, you lost this property, but there's other properties out there. If you don't want that type of perspective, then buying a home without a real estate agent is just what you need. It sounds stressful. It does. It sounds stressful. I wouldn't recommend it, but there are some benefits to it, right? And so those are 5 benefits to purchasing without an agent. I have a couple more. Land yap. If we're from New Orleans, so land yap means a little something extra that I want to add to this. So you don't have so another reason why you would not want to purchase a property without an agent is going to the listing agent isn't the smartest plan, right? So a lot of people think to themselves, Abraham, if I go to the listing agent, then I'll get a good deal. That's not true. The listing agent has already negotiated a percentage of the commission or a percentage of the home sale to the commission, and the seller is trying to make the most amount of money possible. So who is more likely to make the most amount of money in that transaction, or at least get the best deal? The person who hired the listing agent, and the listing agent knows this person's end goal, or you coming into that relationship? It's not likely you, right? And that's it. So last up in this section, right? Question 21 about whether or not you should buy a home without a real estate agent is for sale by owners and new construction properties, right? So you're probably thinking to yourself, you know what, Abraham, I could just go straight to a for sale by owner and I could purchase from them and I don't have to worry about using a real estate agent. Most for sale by owners are on the market for a reason by themselves. And usually that reason is tied to the fact that they're overpriced, right? Or they're unrealistic. Not all, right? I'm not saying all, but a lot of people who go at it alone are unrealistic or more challenging to work with. A for sale by owner is usually trying to save money on the commission too. So they want to list their property at the same price as all of the other properties on the market that are listed with commission, but they want to hopefully get a buyer who will pay that price and then pocket that commission dollar, right? That commission savings. If you go into that scenario thinking that you're going to save that money, both of you can't save the same nickel, right? That person can't save the dollar and you save the dollar as well. Someone is going to quote unquote lose, right? And most likely it's going to be the buyer, because the buyer has not seen all the properties. So working with the real estate agent means that you have somebody who has access to do more thorough research, and that could be a negative for you. Then we have new construction. Some people believe that, you know what, Abraham, I don't need a real estate agent to buy a new construction property, so I could just go at it alone. Most builders, especially the big box builders, have already added the real estate commission for the buy side into their equation. It doesn't negatively affect you. And so you have the builder and their team of individuals working on one side of the table and then you on the other side of the table. Who is more likely to win that negotiating battle, right? This isn't to say you won't have a successful transaction. This is just to say that there's a lot you don't know and you're kind of learning on the fly. It makes much more sense, since the compensation is already built into the build out, or into the building, that you use a real estate agent. Almost all builders, I said almost too, almost all builders will not let you deduct the commission from the sales price. So there isn't really a savings there. So you're already paying for that service with an inflated cost for your property. So get yourself some representation. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it. That's it. So these are reasons why, this is a little tongue in cheek on, you not using an agent. Of course, I'm biased. I'm a real estate agent, so I don't want to make it seem like um this is out of the norm, right? So of course I would position this to where it makes sense to use a real estate agent. I will say though, I think it makes sense for you to at least get someone to advise you about this expensive transaction. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. And I think things that are big deals should be taken seriously. And you want to remove your ego out of the equation. You want to open yourself up to other individuals just assisting you and getting used to getting help from people who are compensated well and who are looking out for your best interest. The best way to do that is to interview who you are going to work with. I highly recommend interviewing your real estate agent. You should want your real estate agent to have some type of buyer consultation with you, some type of in-depth conversation discussion with a series of questions to talk to you about your purchase, your future purchase. And then through that conversation, you will have somebody who's going to be more likely to be on your side. And going through these real estate transactions with somebody on your side that you feel comfortable with, confident with, is just so relaxing. It's so much more relaxing. It removes anxiety. And I think that you will have a better outcome, right? Again, now, I am biased. I'm a real estate agent. I make money off of this stuff. So what else would I say? What else would I say? But I think that made a compelling argument. If anybody else has another position on this, let me know. Let me know. Post it down below in the comment section. So that's it for our prepared piece of content. 100 questions every first-time home buyer should ask. Oh, let me get my camera right. There we go. 100 questions every first-time home buyer should ask. So every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we go live answering one question out of this book, giving you a local's perspective on this topic. I'm in Northern Virginia. I've been in business for 14 years, and I love hearing myself talk. So this live stream it works out well for me. There is a link in the description for anybody who's ready to start their real estate journey, for you to schedule some time with us so we can answer any and all of your real estate questions. So check that link in the bio or link in the description, wherever you're watching us at. Now we are at the point of the show where we take questions. Whatever questions that you may have, post them down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Real estate questions, questions about buying a home, selling a home, questions about the location, questions about things to do in the area. We're always looking for more things to do in the region. Just post those down below in the comment section. And if we don't get any questions, then we'll call it a night. I'll go eat myself some dinner and get ready for tomorrow. So since I have you, or since I have myself right now, what we're thinking about doing with the show, like I said, we have one segment where we take one question from the questions every first-time home buyer should ask. And then we have another book coming, which is 100 questions every first-time home seller or home seller should ask. So we'll have a two-part show, 2 questions that we'll answer on the show. So for our viewers who are buying a home, they'll have something to digest, and then we have something to feed our seller viewers. And then we're working on doing some more content about Northern Virginia. So just like Northern Virginia, the region, what to do, just making this much more of a show type of thing. So you're watching the beginning of this whole journey. This is my 13th live stream in a row. Yay. Congratulations, Abraham. Let me see. I think I have an applause. There we go. Did that go through? No, it didn't go through. Excellent. Oh, you know what? I got to put this up. Let's see. We got an applause thing. Hold on. Let's see. All right. There we go. Did we get the applause there time? No, we didn't. Okay. Anyway, so this is the 13th show in a row. We're going to be coming on every night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Like I said, we're building out this show idea. I like the concept of coming live on a daily basis. For one, it gets me out of my perfectionism, right? Like I go live every night. So this is going to happen. And also it gives me the opportunity to ensure that I'm able to communicate to my audience on a regular basis and give you somewhere to go to, in case you like this kind of content, right? I try to make this a little entertaining. We'll try to make it a little bit more entertaining. So right now we're live on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and something on Twitter. I don't know what it is on Twitter. I don't go on Twitter that often, so I'm not sure, but I believe it's out there. Mm-hmm. All right. So if we don't get any questions at the end of this song, last call for questions. If we don't get any questions after this song, then we're going to go have dinner and call it a night. And then I'll see you all again at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night. All right. Thank you all so much for joining me on another show, another live stream. We'll be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to answer any and all of your real estate questions. Until then, I will see you on tomorrow. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great, what is it? Today is Wednesday? Is today Wednesday? Today is Wednesday. Hope you have a great Thursday, and I'll see you all tomorrow night. Peace.